looks like you're very pleased with how this came out.
Yeah, I am. I am.
This 79-year cover-up of the truth has to end.
All right, Disclosure Day is the new Steven Spielberg movie, 2026 American science fiction thriller from the acclaimed director. We both love him. Written by David Koepp, who's a longtime collaborator of Spielberg, and based on a story by Steven Spielberg. So this is like big Spielberg's return to sci-fi after many years, and we're here to discuss it. First of all, I would like to know, Tyler, what is your relationship with Spielberg? Not personal relationship, but like with his filmography.
With boys, we're tight.
Yeah, with boys. Yeah, of course.
So, Spielberg, obviously, massive film legend. Someone that maybe I appreciated more the older I got, even though, I grew up on his films too. Probably one of my first Spielberg experiences was E.T. and Jurassic Park, and we've spoke about Jurassic Park before on this channel, and I spoke about it's one of my top 10 movies of all time. I love Jurassic Park, and then as you go along, his filmography, he's got Saving Private Ryan, one of my favorite war films of all time, and then I only watched Close Encounters of a Third Kind within the last 4 to 5 years, I'd say, and I've watched it a few times since, and one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time as well. I absolutely loved it. And can you believe it, I only watched Jaws for the first time last year.
Oh, really?
Me and my brother watched it, because they were
such
doing
a good movie.
I know, they were doing the 50th anniversary, I think it was, and I watched that.
Oh, you saw it in the cinema?
No, I didn't see it in the cinema, unfortunately. I watched it at home with my brother, and then we also we watched a Channel 4 documentary about 50 years of Jaws and the making of Jaws, and you're like, wow, the undertaking that movie was insane. And Jaws still holds up. It's a fantastic movie. All in all, I love Spielberg. Not recent Spielberg though. I haven't even seen quite a few of his recent projects, to be honest. So what about yourself?
Well, I do. I mean, I love Spielberg, and I was looking at his filmography, and I've seen almost all of these movies. I skipped West Side Story, which is his most recent musical. Lincoln was good. I haven't seen the BFG, but I did see Ready Player One, which is one of those movies that, in the hands of any other director would have been like an unmitigated disaster. I feel like, Spielberg gave that movie, which is a bad movie, it gave it a little bit of substance and gravitas.
Okay, I agree with you. It gave it a little bit of heart at the core of this CGI fest.
Imagine that same concepts in the hands of I don't even know who, Brett Ratner.
Brett Ratner, yeah, that's a better one. Yeah.
Kind of like this movie too. I feel like I don't want to get ahead of myself, but he has a style, and he has a sensibility, I should say, in the way he directs and he makes movies. So even his lesser work is still enjoyable, it's still interesting, and I find that most of his movies are worth my time. So I was really excited for this movie, Disclosure Day, because I am a big fan of sci-fi. I'm a big fan of Spielberg. I like the cast. Josh O'Connor is probably one of my favorite new actors. I know it's not new, but I've only seen him in a few movies, and Challengers, and
Emily Blunt is always
is
fantastic.
great.
I love pretty much every performance she gives in all the films I've seen of her.
There's a lot to love about this film. It's a very frustrating movie to talk about.
There's a lot to love on the surface of this film. Because like you said, I was super excited for this. The trailer didn't really do it for me, but the initial concept of Spielberg coming back, I know he was super excited to come back to the genre as well. He clearly had something he wanted to say.
Yeah, the story is by him, so it's like a very autorial kind of like, it's not
Yeah.
like just directing the movie like with a Ready Player One or
Like Return to Sci-Fi, one of the master of the sci-fi blockbuster. I had very high hopes for this, to be honest.
yeah, maybe too high. Is it
Yes. Yes.
is it a bit on you too, like the expectations?
Not really. Like, you if like we've just laid out the groundwork, right? You have one of
Yeah.
the greatest living directors, of our time, coming back to a genre he's the master of, with his own story, with a great cast. This deserved the hype, I felt like.
Yeah. Okay. So, we're bearing the lead. We didn't enjoy this movie that much, I guess.
I
Both
wasn't
of
sure
us.
about your reaction, to be fair, but yeah, no, you summed my feelings up well.
I probably liked this more than you did, which is often the case on this channel. But it is a very frustrating movie, starting with the title, because it is a bit misleading, is it not? Like, we don't really get to see the disclosure day, which I thought was the most interesting element of the story. Like
Yes.
we only witness what comes immediately before disclosure day. We don't have to deal with the repercussions of what happens at the end of the movie.
And like I said, it's a fine title, but yeah, like you said, it's I really thought that revelation was going to be
Like halfway
in the
through.
first act,
Yeah.
or halfway through, yeah, on that hour mark of that 2-hour movie. And when you sort of realize the structure of the film as you're going along, you're like, oh no, is this what we're doing? We're doing like a spy thriller instead. It was
Yeah.
because that's what it felt like to me, and especially the opening. I already had my doubts about how good this was going to be within the first 5 minutes of the film.
What a strange opening as well. I was like, is this the right the screening? Like, am I in the wrong
Yeah,
room?
the only reason that made me not restart my stream or whatever is because I saw Amblin Entertainment at the opening. And I
Yeah,
was
so
like,
you
"This
knew
has
that
to
was
be-
the right
This has to
movie."
be Spielberg, right? But
Yeah, for people who haven't seen the movie, like the movie starts with like a wrestling match and like literally like a wrestler punching a guy in the face, and it's a very like out of the blue kind of like unexpected kind of way to open a movie like this. So, yeah.
I feel like this has like some like meta or some metaphorical.
I didn't get it though.
Well, to say again, wrestling on the surface, it portrays itself as real,
But it's not. Yeah.
but it's fake and it's faux. And so I guess that's kind of a bit thematic of the film in a way, but
very
yeah.
loosely.
But this wasn't my issue with the opening sequence. It's then when we have the standoff with is it Daniel? His name, Josh O'Connor's character, I believe.
Yeah.
And he has the standoff with Colin Firth in the opening, and I was like, this is just not the tone I wanted this film to be.
Yeah, just like secret evil organization, and yeah, I mean, it is what the trailer was selling. Like he's on the run from the government because he has secrets that he wants to disclose, spoilers, and then he has to join forces with Emily Blunt's character, who develops some kind of power, and he also has powers because he's like the greatest mathematicians in the world for some reason, and then we discover why he is. So
Yeah.
like okay, so Disclosure Day is a movie I enjoyed for the most part while I was watching it. Like the problems kind of arose later on when I started thinking about it more and more, and the more I thought about it, the more like I disliked the film.
Which is the opposite of how a good movie should work.
Yeah, but because this movie is directed by one of the greatest filmmakers of all time, it becomes fun. It's a romp. It's fast paced. It has interesting shot composition and like a lot of shots that play with reflections and shadows, and it's cool. And there's a bunch of very impressive long takes. There's snappy editing, and the actors are good, as we mentioned, and everything works together to make you forget that the movie doesn't make any fucking sense. So I think I was fooled by the film for the first half at least. I was intrigued by what was happening, and by the even like the question at the center of the film, like, should you disclose this information? What would happen to the world when you give the people this information? But then I felt like, halfway through it starts kind of like falling apart, and then the answers that it gives at the end is not satisfying in the least. And yeah, just a very disappointing kind of like wet fart of an ending, in my opinion.
Yeah. And when I'm also talking about like I just, and from that first like couple of scenes, I already just knew that this wasn't going to be the film that I wanted or expected. It's just the visual style and the dialogue. It's way more, and this was the first note I wrote down. This is way more Ready Player One Spielberg than Close Encounters Spielberg.
Unfortunately, yes.
If we're looking at the repertoire, and it's, Close Encounters is a slow build, it's tense, and obviously it's a product of its time, and films were more like that back then. But there's elements of this film which have a more sort of dated feel to it, like the whole TV broadcast element to it, like rushing to the TV station to show the world these things, like,
that
in today's
feels
world,
very
like
old man, kind of like trying to figure out how technology would work in this.
In today's world, Daniel and Margaret would be back at their house being like, let's start a YouTube channel and let's put this on YouTube, and
Let's do an Instagram live.
yeah. But it's not as cinematic, obviously. But so, yeah, it had this more of a fast-paced, modern-day blockbuster feel about it that's akin to, what was the J.J. Abrams, like, sci-fi film with all the kids
Super
in it
8.
as well? Yeah, Super 8. It just feels generic, and it could be like any of those kind of films, and it doesn't have this classic sci-fi feel to it.
Yeah, and J.J. Abrams was, Spielberg's pupil for a while, and now we are comparing a Spielberg movie to a J.J. movie. I don't think that's a good sign.
I know. You spoke about the ending, very, very disappointing. Like I said, I thought this was gonna deal with the sci-fi elements more, but this is way more. Other than the telepathic technology nature that they discover from the aliens, that's kind of the only real through line of like an actual supernatural sci-fi element that we have in it. And we get the aliens, we see them on a video recording earlier on, which is really interesting. It's quite cool. And there's a lot of stuff that this is drawing from real life as well. And I know the influence of this was Spielberg read a New York Times article about like a black site CIA UFO program, and and I don't know how much you're on top of all this stuff, but in the last like few years in American Congress there've been big
I saw some
meetings
videos,
and like a very, very like high ranking naval pilots and things like that releasing like classified footage of UFOs and things
confirming
like that.
that there's like some stuff that is probably alien, but we're not so sure.
Yes. Yeah. So disclosure is it's a very prevalent topic right now within the world.
Yeah, which is the reason why Spielberg decided to make this movie, because he's a very savvy filmmaker. He knows what sells and what could draw people to the cinema. And I also heard that a lot of this stuff was literally taken from stuff that was found on the internet and theories that people had, people who really believe and are into this kind of stuff. They found that kind of stuff represented in the film, starting with the appearance of the aliens, which I thought was a bit uninspired, because it's the classic, and then this is not a spoiler, this is an alien movie, it's a sci-fi film. We know that aliens are involved, but like the aliens are the kind of big head, big eyes, greenish.
They call them small greys.
Yeah, there you go.
These kind of creatures. But you know what, Tommy? And I was watching. Funny enough, I was watching Pool the other day or the other night.
You were watching porn.
Yeah. Yes. Funnily enough, I was watching loads of porn the other night. Right? No, I was watching Pool, the Simon Pegg.
I love that movie. Yeah. Okay.
Love that movie. And there's a scene in Pool where the alien is like, I think Nick Frost asks him like, why do you look so stereotypical? And it's like, hey, because Spielberg met me and he based E.T. off me, and that's why we think aliens look that way. And they're probably, for me, I think there maybe is an element of that. If you believe that, whatever, there's, aliens have been sighted on Earth or whatever, I think
They
maybe
look
the
like
reason
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that is actually what they look like or have been described as, and they're just trying to keep it as like realistic as possible.
Yeah, I don't mind that. It was distracting because I felt like, oh, like it's just a classic alien that we've seen parodied
Yeah.
in movies like Paul, or like even
Yeah,
American
yeah.
Dad as the same kind of alien too. So like, it's the kind of design that we're not
Would
like
you
that.
rather a big stupid jellyfish in the sky like Nope did?
I mean, that was at least that was very new and fresh and interesting looking.
Because Jordan Peele does the opposite. In the trailer, he fakes you out thinking they're going to be like the small grey classics, and I'm like, oh, right, great, we got ourselves a cool little sci-fi horror classic here. But then they end up being fucking paper bags flying in the wind.
I don't know. I found that design pretty cool. But we're not talking about Nope. We're talking about Disclosure Day, and you were mentioning the idea of like, because the especially the second half of the movie revolves around this rush against time. They need to get Margaret, Emily Blunt's character, to this news station so that she can broadcast to the world the truth about aliens and about what the government was trying to hide from the people, like bring the people this information and allow them to do with this information what they want. And this reminded me of two very different movies, both from this film and from each other. The first one was Split. No, wait, sorry, Glass. The third movie in the Split trilogy, like the Unbreakable,
Yes, yeah.
Split, and Glass, the M. Night Shyamalan movies with Bruce Willis and James McAvoy, and they are super powered people. And Glass is a horrible film. It's such a boring mess of a movie,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is such
terrible.
a shame because both Unbreakable and Split are actually really good. But it ends with kind of like the same idea of like footage of Bruce Willis and James McAvoy, who are super powered in a very subdued way compared to the kind of superpowers that we're used to seeing in that kind of genre movie. But like the footage of them fighting is released on YouTube or like on the internet, and we are meant to believe like the ending of the movie implies that this information is going to change the world because people are going to see that these superhuman beings are real, and that is going to like have a huge effect on society or something. And I think the natural assumption that I would have if I saw something like that would be, especially now, it would be like, oh, it's AI, or like back a few years back, it would be like, oh, it's CGI, or it's made up, or it's fake, or like it wouldn't be that big of a deal. Like people would forget about like a video like that in 2 days. And we would go back to normal. So it's as you mentioned, like it's kind of like Spielberg is an old man and maybe he thinks that like if you see something on television, that's the truth and everyone is gonna believe that that's the truth. But
People
society
believe that even less these days.
society has never been more divided, and like I don't think Emily Blunt's character could convince everyone that that's the truth. Even showing the alien on live TV would not be enough to convince some people. So it was a strange kind of
No.
like resolution.
And you know what? I mean, obviously people believe her because she has this sort of empathetic, like
Yeah.
telepathic
Oh my
ability where
God.
she can see, which
So
like I don't know
fucking
whether.
dumb.
And they do this like spotlight on her, like every time she does this, and she's like angelic,
Yeah.
and it's like, and it's just a bit too on the nose, and like especially in the first sequence when it happens, when she's trying to get through to her, she's trying to get to
With the
her
officer.
live.
Yeah. He's trying to
Yeah, and the
find
police
her.
officer stops her, and they have this like link, and then but what's weird about that is that she realizes afterwards, she's like, what the fuck did I just do? But then completely forgets about it and just goes to work. But I think if I had the ability to read people's minds, I might like sit and stew on that for a minute, and I might miss my
She
day
was
of work.
rushing to work, and she couldn't really. I liked how they present the power at the beginning. I was intrigued on how she did it to the officer, and then when she goes into the newsroom, she speaks perfect Korean or Chinese, I don't remember, to the guy who's like one of the guests of the show. And it's very hectic, and it's like a long take, and it's really beautifully done. So it's but then when like she goes to save Josh O'Connor's character halfway through the movie, and they are in this facility, by the way, a facility that should be of this Wardex is the name, like this advanced technology kind of place. The film tells us that Wardex, developed revolutionary defense technology based on the alien tech that they retrieved.
Yeah.
And then when Emily Blunt infiltrates the facility, instead of like deploying I don't know, automated lockdowns or like futuristic weapons, or there's one guy who manages to chase after them with a gun and shoot them with a gun.
Yeah.
But everyone else is
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, I saw my dead mother, and now I'm gonna let you through. And yeah, that was silly.
I mean,
thought.
everybody, all the security guys that work for this company are absolutely useless.
Yeah,
they
like
get
that-
outwitted constantly by the computer guy. The computer guy gets in a car, and he's surrounded in this forest by, and you're like, oh, he crashes the car, and he's gonna stop and get out, and he's gonna be taken by them. But
Yeah.
no, he reverses and manages to escape. And then they have this stupid scene. I don't know whether it's in that same car chase sequence, because there's a lot of car chase sequences.
Oh my
in
god,
this
it's
movie.
just car chases, this movie. It's car chases the
And
film.
you know the bit where they go on the train, and there's like the car is smashed into the train, and the other train comes by and smashes them, and Emily Blunt just gets pulled into the carriage just in time. I'm thinking, what is this, Mission Impossible? Like, what are we fucking watching? I thought I was watching a thoughtful
Yeah.
sci-fi film for adults, and this is what I mean by the film's so tonally imbalanced. Like, even with the bit we mentioned before where she's rushing around the newsroom, it has this comedic feel to it.
Yeah.
But like the old Spielberg sci-fi stuff, he did a great job of mixing tones, because there's some funny moments in those old ones too. But like, you feel the awe, the awe-inspiring of these moments of when the character encounters something supernatural.
Yeah.
But here it's just like, it happened. She read his mind. Shoop, move on to the next thing. High pace. We gotta, that these brain rot generation. We need to keep, stimulating their minds with more dialogue, more bang, more car chase, rah, rah, rah. It's like, oh man, come on, let's take it slow.
And it's a pretty small scale film, but then it keeps like it feels the need to keep like introducing these action sequences and chase sequences so that it feels exciting and bigger than it actually is, when we have like a pretty small set of characters and a pretty straightforward plot where like these two characters have to meet, and then meet with Coleman Domingo, who's building Emily Blunt's family house from scratch in a hangar somewhere for some reason. Well, I mean, we know the reason, but like I felt that was so unbelievable, and just why are they doing that? You're just gonna try and build, like you're gonna recreate her whole house so that she can stand in her room and remember the trauma that she tried to forget about the aliens abducting her, before you try anything else? Like, just do a Rorschach test maybe, or ask her a few questions, like triggering questions. I don't know, like it was such a strange, because it was so interesting in the first half, like you see Coleman Domingo's kind of like doing his thing, and behind him there's like this set being built, and you're like, oh my god, what is he doing, what's happening there? And then it's just, we built her house. So yeah,
What was the revelation in that sequence that you know,
That
it,
they
it
were
just
both
it,
kidnapped together, and one was given this gift of empathy and reading minds, but she
yeah.
repressed it, and Josh O'Connor was given the gift of maths.
You can like, by this point in the movie, we're like, you know, 20 minutes away from the end. All of that can be inferred. Like
Yeah.
it's quite obvious up until that point. Like, and I felt like more was coming for that revelation. And yeah, I don't know. And I also think, you know, a big part of the themes of the film was religion.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so ham-fisted. And, you know, we get Josh O'Connor's sort of girlfriend character who he's with at the beginning.
She used to be a nun.
Secretly,
Yeah.
secretly a nun.
An
And
ex-nun.
as soon as she is shown the evidence of the aliens, she is like, "Oh my God, people will worship these like deities," and it's
Yeah.
like that's the first thing she says, and it's like, well, that was so,
Yeah.
oh, that's so scripty, like, do you know what I
Scripty,
mean?
and also another example of just like jumping to conclusions that are not
Yeah.
literally like what would happen. Because
I also don't think that would be the case. I like, you know, in her reasoning, it's like, well, once people see a real supreme being, and it's like, well, are they supreme beings if they're being held by humans in a lab and being
yeah,
experimented
exactly.
on?
That felt
Like,
weird. And then, you know, like the nun is the one who says the intelligent thing is like, you know, like people are gonna believe in aliens and God as well. Like, you know, you can believe in both. You can be like, oh, there's a larger universe out there. We're not the only ones, but there might be this all powerful kind of like force,
yeah.
like that governs us all, like including other alien species. I don't know, like yeah.
And God, the like, and again highlighted in probably one of the worst sort of ways when she gets to that house in the hangar with all the Secret Service people,
Yeah.
and she's speaking to everyone individually and telling them about their lives, and one of the ladies gets on her knees and does like does the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost in front of her, and she starts worshiping her, and it's like, what is going on?
It's not
Like,
really
what
explored
about-
that the idea that she might be perceived as like a godlike figure. It's only briefly kind of like tackled in that scene and like a couple of other like dialogue moments, but it's not really.
And also in the context of that situation with that, you know, officer, she is aware of what she's involved in to a degree.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you know, the lady who's linked with the alien that we've been hunting all this time. Oh, she has these supernatural powers. Oh my God, she's my God. I must worship her. It's like somebody fire this lady. Jeez.
And these people were working for Wardex, most of them, right? Like, because they are the missing people that we see at the beginning, that like Colin Firth is like trying to track down, which was so stupid as well. Like, you know, the film establishes that Colin Firth knows who these people are, like the people who are working with Coleman Domingo, but like it's not until like, you know, he's having this like telepathic conversation with him, and two of these guys walk into the room accidentally, and then he's like, oh, it's them, find them, and then they can finally track them down, but before they couldn't, but they knew who they were. Like, I was like, that was just weird, very unbelievable.
Yeah.
And something else that I found unbelievable, and linking back to what I was saying before, like the other movie that this movie reminded me of is Watchmen. I don't know if you remember
that's weird.
Watchmen. But
I
Watchmen,
remember it very well.
okay, Watchmen is based on a comic book. And the comic book of Watchmen is slightly different. Specifically, the ending of the comic book is different, because in the movie, we have Dr. Manhattan, who's like framed for the destruction of all these different cities throughout the world to prevent World War III. Basically, the world is on the brink of this new war. You know, there's this crisis between the US and the USSR, and basically Ozymandias, who's the villain, orchestrates everything so that like he destroys a few cities, few key places around the globe, and blames it on this super powerful being, so that, you know, humanity can unite against a common threat and avoid nuclear annihilation, basically World War III and the death of everyone. So like the idea is, you know, if something like that happens, humanity will unite and will not fight each other anymore, but they will unite against this different threat. And it's kind of like the premise of this movie as well, because I don't know if you noticed, but this movie is supposed to be kind of like, like the premise is that like World War III is about to happen. Like everyone is worried that,
Yeah, there's a bit of that. Yeah.
but and we see kind of like people that are raiding shops, and like on the news people are very afraid, but like Emily Blunt at the beginning, she's not really tuned into that because she's just the weather lady. But yeah, like the movie's trying to tell you that World War III is about to happen, and basically what happens is that the reveal of the aliens will somehow cure this problem. Like somehow we'll all get together and be like, oh, there's aliens, so we're not gonna fight each other anymore. And I think
We don't have to fight each other. We can fight them.
Yeah.
Kill the aliens.
and once we've killed the 2 aliens on the planet, we can go back to killing each other again. So I feel like it makes sense in Watchmen, because of like the like historical scenario. It's set in the 80s. It's the Cold War. It's like and also in the comic books, as I was mentioning, it's different. It's not Dr. Manhattan the one who's blamed for all these attacks, but it's like actually Ozymandias creating a fake alien so that people believe in aliens and decide to unite against this alien threat that might strike again once, like in the future.
Yeah.
So you're like,
Which is based off I don't know whether it's a conspiracy theory or like some leaked like CIA classified documents from a long time ago.
yeah,
It's something
Alan
called,
Moore
like,
knew his shit, of course. Manhattan
Project
Project.
Blue, Project Bluebeam.
Yeah.
It's like, and it makes sense. It's like, hey, create a fake alien invasion. It's called, people do it for wars all the time now. It's called a false flag attack.
Yeah.
And you blame it on external force, and everyone gets together, for the good or the bad. So, but yeah, so it's but this, like you said, this one doesn't really deal with that. Though,
Yeah,
does
no,
it?
it reminded me of all these bits, and this is kind of why how I predicted how the movie would end. Like once, like we were halfway through, it was like, okay, she's a reporter. She needs to, get this news out there that aliens are real, and Josh O'Connor is gonna help her, and people are on the brink of war. And so the news that aliens are real is gonna stop the war, and people are gonna start loving each other again, and that's gonna be the story. And that's exactly what happens. And I feel like it chickens out at the very end. It's like, oh, listen, it's the last word that they say while they are like about to relay the information that the alien gave them in his original, like in his mother language. And then we cut to black and it's credits, and I'm like, oh, fuck you, yeah, I understand that the message is listen, like to you, that's it's listen, like listen, because you need to listen to others in order to progress and not kill each other, I guess, like be nice.
Yeah.
And it's such a naive and I don't know, just such a it's like a fable, like it doesn't deal with the real world consequences of the stuff that you are presenting. Yeah.
Whereas like the whole rest of the film is all espionage and spy thriller, and it's like dealing with, oh, how hard realistically would it to be to get this information out, and then at the end it wants to do this more like artistic, lofty, like open to interpretation thing. Yeah, the film really doesn't know what it is, and I'm surprised you didn't mention like because the end is very similar to Arrival.
Oh yeah.
In a way.
But Arrival is a
And
masterpiece.
Arrival is a masterpiece, and it does this so beautifully. That because she can see through time. Like
Yeah.
the alien's language makes her be able to sort of see through time, and she can say something to it's like the head of the Chinese army or something like that, or the Chinese president.
Finds a way to
And it
connect
says-
to him through his dead
Yeah.
wife or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was beautiful. Like that moment is fantastic, and it's more of a personal character moment that has implications for what we think that the disclosure of aliens will do for the rest of the world. And God, it does it so much better there than it does here, which is crazy considering this is Spielberg. Also, that's another, Spielberg's famous for having great side characters in his films, you know, very memorable villains as well, very memorable side characters, and obviously memorable protagonists. And nobody is you know, I can't even remember Colin Firth's name, and I just watched the movie, Tommy.
Yeah. It's
You
just
know what I
called
mean?
Colin. No, he has a very weird name actually. It's like
It's Scanlon.
Scanlon. Yeah.
Scanlon.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Okay. Well, I do remember. There you go. I'm not as retarded.
Such
as
a
I thought.
memorable character. Yeah.
But they yeah, it's just it's off the mark in so many beats here. And you know, just mentioning his character, it's you want to tee him up as the villain, like you said, he would do anything to bury these secrets, but he doesn't kill a single person.
Yeah.
He should have killed the nun girl to really raise the stakes at a point in this movie.
Someone should have died at some point.
yeah. Because it's not a kid's happy-go-lucky movie.
Yeah.
Even though it does feel like that when she's walking through the snow with the CGI deer and CGI
Oh
fox. I was
god,
like,
the fox.
what is this?
The
Disney
fox.
Snow White?
The fox was so weird. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. CGI animals. We haven't nailed them yet. We haven't quite found
No,
the
why
formula.
is it so hard? It shows you the change in Spielberg, because they when they show you the CGI animals in the bedroom, they cut to a shot at the back, right, when you only see a piece of the deer, his head and his antlers, and the little bird lands on his antlers. That deer could have been practical effects at that point.
Yeah.
You're only seeing a portion of it, but they don't bother because the CGI is easier or whatever, and it looks crap, and it won't hold up the test of time, even if people enjoy it on the first watch.
Yeah, look at The Lion King
near like the others
2019.
do.
It was incredible. I mean, I never liked it, but it was like photorealistic when it came out. And if you look at it now, it's uncanny as fuck. It's just unwatchable because technology has progressed, and you know it doesn't look that good anymore. Yeah.
It's lazy, and you either I saw this somewhere, so I'm not gonna steal it as my own, but I can't reference who said it, but you either die a Stanley Kubrick or you live long enough to become a Ridley Scott. And Spielberg
Spielberg
has.
It's kind of in the middle there.
So what would you give this out of 10?
I mean, it's still a Spielberg movie. I guess, you know, it entertained me enough. I was engaged in the film. I guess it's a 6.5.
That's fair. I think maybe on second watch I wouldn't be as harsh, but this for me is a 5 out of 10. It's very average. Very forgetful, and overwhelmingly disappointing. If this is, you know, I will not be getting excited if Kubrick comes out from the grave and he's like, I'm doing another movie. It's like, no, Kubrick,
Don't do
it's
it.
gonna be shit.
Don't do it. Stanley, stop.